everyone, welcome to my weekly recap of Trinidad Bhojpuri Words and Phrase. Now, let me just quickly reintroduce this project for those of you who have only just discovered these posts. This was a project that started in May of this year. Dr. Bhimull and I are collaborating because we thought it would be interesting to see what the response would be to Bhojpuri, specifically Bhojpuri. And I have to say that I'm so very happy that this has grown into somewhat of a permanent fixture, not just on my show, but even on social media. So many people come up to me and they're always, so what was your word today? Or you said a word that took me back a long time ago, or this was a word that reminded me of my Aji, or you did a word today that I did not know. And this is the kind of response that makes this project so much fun. And it is a vital tool in appreciating the heritage and linguistic heritage that we enjoy. So I want to thank you all so much for your participation and the messages and reaching out to me via text on the show and so on. It's great to hear from you, and we hope that we continue to grow together because our lifestyle has changed so much, and so many parts of our heritage we're losing to a modern lifestyle. So we need to preserve as much as we can the best way we can. So once again, thank you so much. Let's get started. I'm Karen Das.
And I'm Dr. Visham Bhimull from Caribbean Hindustani.
Okay, so on Monday we had Kathaa. And I thought we could use this because I was curious. We did Kisa the week before, so I wanted to know what the response would be for Kathaa.
So, as I mentioned before, there are a lot of words that Hindi and Bhojpuri would share, right? It doesn't change like din or rat, which is night or day. So this is one example, but within the context of this as well, because it is directly loaned from Sanskrit, is formal use in both Hindi as well as Trinidad Bhojpuri. So Katha means story, and Kisa also means story. But then is the context of the story. So we had said that a Kisa is more like a folk tale.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But a Katha is more religiously linked. So it would be a story, but a story related, well, in Trinidad, usually to the Itihasas, which would be, well, you see the Hindu history books. So from the Mahabharata or from the Tulsi Ramcharitramanas or from the Ramayana, which is in Sanskrit, or from the Puranas, right? Specifically stories that would have morals to teach us lessons, you would see it there. However, because the tradition, or at least in Hinduism within the Caribbean, is so intimately linked with the culture, even in the, so examples of kisas will be Kawahakani Ke Kisa, which is the story of the scarecrow. I have a recording of that, a few recordings in Trinidad Bhojpuri. So even though they might be different contexts of stories, they still linked culturally. And then, well, everybody knows kahani. So those are three words, kisa being specific to Trinidad Bhojpuri, that means story, but it could be used interchangeably, but they often would be contextual differences.
What was interesting on Facebook, a lot of persons said Katha, they simply said prayers or puja. And I think it's because the context in which it was used when growing up, the older folks would say they're going to Katha, which
Right.
included a puja, but they just put everything together to mean they're going to prayers.
And,
But it was
and
really
that's where we have the divergence of meanings or lost in translation over time, where they would hear a word, they would not give it a translation, they would use it in a context. So in this context, you use it, katha, which is the telling of the katha, right? Which is what the pandit will do, is part of the prayers, right? And next word is satsang. But again, satsang is like a gathering, right? It really means sitting down of people for this particular listening of the katha. So you see these different words we might use. So initially it was quite copious, the words we would use for these practices. But now they have atrophied into to limited contextual meanings like this. So yeah, a lot of people who don't know the language because it was lost would kind of associate it with a praise. Yeah.
All right. Second word last week on Tuesday, we followed up with Paal. And this, we had no hiccups with this word at all. It was a fun
Mm.
word for everybody, from the description to the usage. It just, I don't know, it really
But
captured a snapshot of bygone time.
I want to mention Dr. Peggy Mohan's comment because I usually would share it. And
Right.
she was actually saying this, and I didn't think about it. She says, well, let's just say Pal Jahaj, which is a sail ship. She actually had made that because remember, the initial inquiries in the Trinidad Bhojpuri and recording that data was from her. So Pal Jahaj was one expression she had learned, and she actually gave the meaning a sail ship. So Pal actually means sail. But you see the connection here. Everybody knows the jute bag or the hemp
Mm.
bag that you make hammocks with, that they would sew together to make one long sheet that they would sit on the Beta Ghana. They would sing on that, right? I remember when we have prayers as well. We would spread the pal, right, on the ground, and then put a sheet above, a cheddar above, and then sit to do the prayers. And it would seem that everybody in the diaspora had agreed that that's what it is, even those from Suriname and those from Fiji and Mauritius and South Africa. But interestingly enough, that has come to mean the meaning now because we use it for that specifically. But initially, it had a broader context of being huge sheets like a sail for a ship.
Uh,
So again, we see how the context would evolve based on what uses we um we might have it. Spread Pal Crew, which is the name of a was the name of a chutney group, right?
mhm.
They wanted to have that tradition of spreading the pal, which is the jute sewn jute bags. They sit now and do baita gun.
I also noted a response from quite a few people that it was also used to collect for the coffee.
Yeah, because the same bags they would sew together, and I remember, I think I mentioned to you, my grandmother used to put a lot of stuff to dry outside.
Yes,
So
the
actually,
embroidery.
those bags sewn together, she would put outside to have things dried. So things like coffee, yes, but even the adori, which we had used on some contexts, I remember she would eventually she put out a yellow cloth to put it on, but earlier on she would actually spread that bag to put the stuff to dry on. So it was, yes, it was also used for drying stuff to be, well, processed or cooked or whatever it might be.
All right. So that was Paal on Tuesday. We usually have a phrase on a Wednesday. So our midweek phrase was Dhaar Charhaaway.
Right. Now everybody know the term Charhaaway, right? Everybody knows that term again, and it's specifically associated with offering, right? So you offer jal in the morning, offer dhar in the morning, or you offer dhar during Naratam, right? Or even
Mhm.
if you're offering stuff to the baby, you use the term Charhaaway. But interestingly enough, there are two words in Trinidad Bhojpuri, Charhe, which means to climb, right? There's a saying I use translated from Patwa saying, which is Bistuya Jani Kaun Ped Charhe. The lizard know which tree to climb. So it means to climb or elevate or rise, right? Even in Hindi, it's chardhana, which means the same thing. And then to cause to rise, which is chardhana in Hindi, becomes chardhawe in Trinidad Bhojpuri. So actually, the essence of offering to God, meaning that you're offering to God who's not here but in the heavens, you're actually offering in such a way for it to be elevated. So you're causing it to rise towards God. So that context of Churhawe, which literally means to cause to rise, cause to be elevated, um, now has become to offer because that's actually what you're doing. Um, so yeah, I'm glad we had chosen that one because like we had tarkari and chokha. People use it, but they don't know actually what it means. Yeah.
And Dhar, it was interesting with Dhar because I noted someone said that it meant to sharpen one's tools, which I found a little odd compared to what we had known as
Well,
Dhar.
the meaning of dhar, which would obviously come from dhar, would mean like it actually means the flowing of water,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the flowing of water, which in the context of a river. Um, so that's how I get the concept of it being the flowing of liquid. The Charhaaway means the flowing of liquid, offering that flowing of liquid to God. So I don't know with regard to sharpening, I never heard it in that context, but
Yeah.
Dhaar itself actually comes from a wider and broader meaning. So I guess the movement of water, which is quick, which would be sharp, could also be a context in which you might use it. I never heard it used in that context before.
Okay.
Um,
And that's
but
where we get Ganga Dhara.
yeah, the flowing of Ganga.
Mhm.
Yeah, the flowing or the concept of the flowing of water. Yeah,
Okay,
because
on
Dhara gives that concept of waves within a river.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
On Thursday, we had a sweet sounding word, Churwaa. Many people were able to share the correct answer for this, but I was also surprised because there were some folks on Facebook outside of Trinidad who said we had never heard this word, Churwaa.
The Surinamese and the Dutch people figured it out, but people didn't specifically say what it was. They said
Mhm.
in the action of, so they specifically say drinking water because that was a
Yeah.
reference, right? There is a Hindi expression, well, the Hindi equivalent or cognate is chullu, right? So it's chullu bhar mein doob maro means drown yourself in a cup in your hand with water. How much water will and becomes churwa, right? So it's churwa bhar doob maro in Trinidad Bhojpuri. Means drown yourself in a palm cupped palm of water. It really means well, go and drown yourself. You embarrass yourself so much, you could go and drown yourself because nobody wants to see you. That's literally what it means. But the churwa is not the action of drinking, which what people had said it was. Churwa is actually the formation of a cup with your hand.
Mm-hmm.
The action of drinking, you could say, churwa ke pani piye means to drink from the palm of your hand. Churwa ke pani, right? Would mean this cupped action with water in it is churwa ke pani.
Oh, okay. So Churwa ke pani simply means
Well, that's the actual water in a cup of
Churwa ke
in a
pani,
cup in a
water in your right in
in
your
your
cup.
churwa.
Right. So if you wanted to use Churwa in a sentence, if you wanted to say, um, throw some water in
You
the
could no, like
Churwa.
it's say something like churwa ban ke pani piye. Make a cup with your hands and drink water. Or you could
Oh,
say चुरवा बन के tap से पानी पिए. Drink water from the tap, a cup in your palm. To
ah.
drink water. Yeah.
Okay, so to make a cup with your hands is Churwa banki.
But yeah, so no, well, bane means to make, or banao we would usually use, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, churwa banao. But on forming, you want to say on forming. So churwa banke, or you could say churwa banake, on making a cup with your palm.
Now
So,
we
so
know
banke and banake means to, or it means to make,
to me.
or on making, yeah, yeah.
I like it. I like. All right. On Friday, it's usually a food related word. We had two words this Friday. Again, aptly chosen. Mithaa, Bhaat, and we tackled Bhaat already. And I think everybody knew what Mithaa was.
Yeah, it's a common one. You could form another word with it, but I wouldn't say it here because you could probably
Yeah.
use that for Diwali for next week or the following week, right? Um, I think I'm not sure if you had used sada yet, but sada roti. If you ask people what's sada, they'll say, well, it's roti. But sada is actually a adjective that describes the roti. So sada means plain, right? Sida
Mhm.
sada means plain and simple. Um, so if you say sada roti, plain roti, you could say sada admi, a plain man, or sada kapra means sade kapre. Um, Sada kapra means plain cloth or clothes, right? Um, like this now, people say mitha bhat, so they don't realize. So we actually learning the adjective for sweet in Trinidad
Mhm.
Bhojpuri, which is mitha. Same in Hindi, mitha, right? So mitha is sweet, describing the bhat, so it means sweet rice, literally, which is rice pudding, essentially.
All right. All right, everybody. So I hope you enjoyed our video today. And to previous posts, try to keep up with us. Trinidad Bhojpuri Words and the Phrase is a production of the Karan Das Company in collaboration with Dr. Visham Bhimull of Caribbean Hindustani. Why not remind us how folks can get in touch with you?
Yeah, you just go type Caribbean Hindustani on Facebook, the Facebook page, and there's CaribbeanHindustani.org. That's the website, and you can feel free to leave us any message or questions or suggestions you might have.
Yes, we welcome that very much. So we have fresh words for you this week, and it's growing. So we want to thank you once again for reaching out to us and for participating on air as well as online. I'm Karen Das.
And I'm Dr. Visham Bhimull.
Catch you next week.